Welcome back to the Property Finance Podcast, and today we're going to be talking about creating a long-term plan. So one of the biggest things that we find at the moment when we're dealing with clients is we're always dealing with short-term finance. But one of the biggest things that comes back is actually short-term finance, but there's never really that long-term plan. And although we're not accountants, we're not financial advisors or anything like that, one of the things I really wanted to cover in this episode was actually how you can go about creating that long-term plan and understanding it and essentially creating something where you're not just stuck on a short-term finance. You're creating that legacy wealth, as a lot of people call it. So the first thing for me is always making sure that you've got your exit lined up. So whether it be that you're going on a bridge, development finance, refurb finance, buy-to-let, commercial mortgage, whatever product you're going on, making sure that you've got an exit lined up. So whether that be sale, whether it be refinance, if you're doing a development project, for example, it may be that you're going to take a wind and watertight facility at the moment that you become wind and watertight. It may be that you're going to take a development exit as soon as you hit practical completion. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. So for us, it's all about understanding that exit. When you come to us, it's right, this is what we're doing, this is what we're buying, this is what we're looking at doing. But actually it's then, we've got this plan A, plan B, plan C in terms of exits. And one of the biggest things for us is, what are you going to do if your initial exit fails? So if plan A doesn't come to fruition, so if you're doing a refurb, for example, and you're looking at doing a buy-to-let, what happens if you then go for a buy-to-let and for whatever reason you've missed some mortgage payments or you've had some sort of blip on your credit file and all of a sudden that buy-to-let mortgage isn't available anymore? What's your plan B? Are you going to pop it into the auction, for example? Well, if it can't go into the auction, are you going to be able to sell it on the open market? Have you got enough time to sell it on the open market? And it's understanding all of these different factors that come into play. So that's the first thing, without a shadow of a doubt, is working out your exit strategy, because you can't have a long-term plan without being able to get off of that short-term finance. So being able to exit your bridge, your development loan, whatever it may be. Then when it comes to kind of the second part, it's, well, actually, what's your plan once you've dealt with the first project? How many projects are you going to run concurrently or at any one time? So we deal with a lot of development finance clients who they'll do one project at a time, they'll go through it, they'll do it, they'll sell it, that's it, end of. They'll then go and look for another one. But then we have other clients who work on a 3-project strategy. So for example, what they'll do is they'll have one in planning, one in construction, one in sales, or they might have one in acquisition, one in planning, one in build, whatever it may be. But they have these 3 that they run in a cycle, essentially. So again, it's understanding that. Do you have the capacity? Do you have the capability to be able to run that as a long-term plan? Is that your expansion plan? Because when you go into those first couple of developments, you don't want to be stuck in a position where you've done your first one and then actually you get to the end of it and go, well, actually, what do I do now? Do I have the build team and the capability to do this? What do I do? So having that plan in place allows you to go, right, okay, I've done my first one. I've already got my second one, my third one lined up. I've already got another one in planning. I've gone and partnered with X builder, Y builder. I've brought on a planning consultant, all sorts of other things. That enables you to just have that extra capacity to go and do all some other stuff. So first thing, sort your exit. Second thing is your growth plan. And then when it comes to your third one, it's about understanding your long-term goals in terms of, are you looking at building something for a pension? Are you looking at building something that you're going to go and sell? Are you looking at building something that actually is going to be handed down to the next generation? And the reason why you need to understand that is because you're going to operate the business in a very different way. If you're building it for sale, for example, you're going to make sure that the overheads are as low as possible. You're going to make sure the turnover is as high as possible so that the profit's high as possible, so that when you go to sell it, your EBITDA is basically as strong as it can possibly be, therefore attracting a higher sales price. So you're going to run it in a different way. Whereas if you're building it for the next generation, for example, you're maybe not going to push every single number as far as you can push it, because you're not going to be as bothered about profitability, because you're going to be more bothered about actually keeping these units and then renting them out and keeping them and making sure the next generation has got something they can take over. And then the third one is, if you're building it for a pension pot, again, you're not going to be massively pushed by profits or long-term sustainability. You're going to be pushed by creating the highest possible income that you can, because you want to enjoy those 20, 30 years that you hopefully get in retirement in the most enjoyable way possible. So it's about understanding each of those. So every project that you go into, you want to understand, what are my exits going to be? How many exits do I need to have? Well, minimum, I would say you need to have 2 or 3 exits lined up. You then need to work out what's your plan after that. So you've got, like I said before, maybe one or two options there, and then you need to work out what your plan is actually moving forward for the next generation and exiting the business as a whole. So in terms of long-term plan, those are kind of the three key points I would say. Just a very quick podcast for today, but hopefully it gives you some ideas of what you want to be doing kind of moving forward into each and every project. And like I said, we deal with a lot of short-term finance, so it's always nice to understand those long-term goals. But thank you very much for listening. I will catch you on the next one.